So, a little more about the trip. I picked up the ID4 earlier on the week. And in fact, I will be renting this vehicle out in a couple of months as part of my small, rather interesting Turo fleet, which currently consists of a Ford Transit 350 8-seater passenger van, formerly a Google executive minibus. But in about 6 weeks, first week in June, I plan on taking this vehicle from San Francisco to New York. Nominally, this is to help my wife out with an event, but it's also to fulfill on a combination of two ambitions. One, to drive across America, which I have done before with my then fiance, now wife, before we got married. But that was driving from east to west, and we were meeting family and people who wouldn't be coming to our wedding, and it was a great road trip. But I've always wanted to do it the other way. And whilst I've driven all the way to, I guess Cheyenne would be the furthest I've driven in our RV, and all the way to the Canadian border, up in Seattle in the same RV. I've just always wanted to do this. And for those of you playing at home, in a few seconds you'll get your iconic over my shoulder Golden Gate Bridge video shot. Now the purpose of the show, like I said, is to help my wife, because here we are, hopefully on the right side of COVID, the world returning to some form of normal, and I have but I'm personally not comfortable flying yet. I have my own collection of comorbidities. Despite having both vaccines, I just rather not fly at the moment because I'm responsible for my family. And my wife is going to be heading out to New York for the Westminster Dog Show. That's right. If you thought I was weird to begin with, it gets stranger. I can't take that kind of time off. I'm the marketing director for a software security company when I'm not doing this. But I've always wanted to do a cannonball, always wanted to take an electric vehicle across the country, and so those two things are going to come together. So this ride and the one I'm taking tomorrow is some quiet time I have because the family's out of town for a couple of days. And so that gives me an opportunity to work out the vehicle, to get to understand its efficiency. You can digest a lot from YouTube. I did, from reading, from watching, from learning. But I want to have some statistics that are this vehicle that I can rely on when we don't have the support infrastructure of living in the Bay Area and a fast charger every 3.5 miles. So, it's going to be an interesting channel, much to share over the coming weeks and months, and just a little bit about the viewpoint. Why am I doing this? Because there's no shortage of YouTube channels. Like you and many of us, I go to sleep watching YouTube as opposed to linear TV. And I love watching Bourne and all his reviews and tests, Kyle from Out of Spec, motoring, and his long distance runs. I mean, I love these things. But I have a mortgage. I live in San Jose. I have a heavy mortgage. I have a kid. My wife works as an independent consultant, part-time kind of thing, and, you know, does an amazing job of raising our daughter. And so we don't have Tesla money to throw around. And whilst things may change with the way that the tax credits might be in 2021, they aren't yet, as I'm recording this in late April. And we needed to make a change in our vehicles, and our tax situation, and everybody has their own, meant that this was a good purchase for us. This would satisfy our space and range requirements, and also our ongoing cost requirements. So let me tell you a little bit about my EV history. Like I said, I have an American wife and an anchor baby if it doesn't work out. You may detect some humor in this video. I have a fairly good side hustle as a stand-up comic in the Bay Area, although before COVID I would perform literally all over the world. My first vehicle when I came to the States was originally from England, from the north of England. It was a Mini Cooper S Clubman. Now, I'm a big guy, fat these days, but I've always been excessively tall, 6'4" and change. I loved my Mini, I really did. It so much room. You look at how low the floor is, but the roof line is the same as an Audi A3. Loads of room for tall people. Sat so close to the ground, really comfortable. The Clubman was not what you would call. I bought it as a treat for myself. It was an ex-demonstrator. Got a great deal on it. And the truth of the matter is, having lived in England most of my life, and how much we paid for gasoline, there was no way I would ever be able to justify a gasoline Mini that was that thirsty. I mean, it's economical, but you know, you drive it like you stole it. Well, as we got to gasoline, and ironic as I'm saying this, and there's a Mini Cooper S comes up alongside me. When I moved to the US, gas is cheap here. Even when it's $4 a gallon, and don't get me wrong, that's expensive, but you know, I drove a 2002 Mini 1 diesel. I got 68 miles to the gallon with that thing. Every week I would drive it from West Yorkshire down to London. I took it on some great road trips to the south of France, to the Milan Bridge, to Le Mans, all over the place. Had a great time with that car. When I could get the Mini Cooper S, and I didn't have to worry about gas prices, that was my treat, and I loved it. Just to say that while I'm recording this and talking, I'm using the ID4's travel assist function. It's keeping me between the lanes. I do have always have one hand on the wheel at a minimum, if not two. And I have to say, I really like it. It's very assured. It's not making me seasick, which was an experience with the Tesla. Don't get into the whole Tesla hater. Love the Tesla. Talk about that later on. But I had the Mini for a couple of years, and then we were blessed with my daughter, London. That's right, a British guy in California whose daughter's called London. Wasn't the first choice. Febreze was an option for a time. Apparently that's for something else. Avocado. Turns out that's just her favorite food. She's a native. But I went to work for a company that had a lot of chargers outside. And at this time I was aware of two things. First of all, I spent a lot of time in traffic commuting on the 101. Second of all, I was filling up the tank twice a week. And then I was getting the maintenance bills for the car. And you know, the thing with the Mini is it's a great car when it's in warranty, but on its third birthday, it turns into a BMW. I love BMWs. I was raised on BMWs. Rear-wheel drive, the 325 TISE, my first number plate of my car, LS52TWK. These things are ingrained in my heart, tattooed in my mind for eternity. But that Mini, when it came out of warranty, was expensive, just like the first one. And I don't have the time I have to do my own maintenance and repairs. You know, being a dad, being having a full-time job, and all the other things that go on in life, just don't. Time's expensive. It's the one thing we can't get more of. But BMW released the i3 94 amp hour, and I do hope they go away from that qualification in future. And because I work for a BMW partner organization, a technology company, we got great discounts. And with all that, with the California rebates, the federal tax rebates, and the partner rebate and discounts, I ended up driving a i3 94 on a lease, fully spec'd out, $3,000 down, or $5,000 down, of which $3,500 was a returnable deposit, and $169 a month on a 10,000 miles a year lease. I mean, it was almost as cheap as taking the bus. Not that you can take the bus where I live, but whatever. So, I am just turning on the sound alerts on Waze on my car because speeding tickets are expensive around here, and we want to avoid them. And I know that there's some traffic and police up ahead. So, when I had the i3, and I loved it. It was a BMW in so many ways. Great weight distribution, fantastic handling, even on those pizza cutter tires. It could do 100 and I don't remember how many miles it did now, but it was a good number of miles. I could go up to, my benchmark living in San Jose is, can I get to the city, to San Francisco and back? And it couldn't quite do it, but there were so many fast chargers. It was only a 10-minute charge at a 50 kilowatt DC fast charger. And did a couple little road trips. Did a version of what I'm doing today. Took it up to Napa to follow my wife one weekend. She went up. She'd gone up to Sonoma earlier in the week, and I road tripped up there. And I remember stopping at a casino for a fast charge about 10 miles away. And I had to be, drive conservative, yada yada yada. So it must have been about 100 miles range. Took it down to Paso Robles when we had really sketchy infrastructure. Had to use a 22 kilowatt fast charger behind a Denny's, which I thought I was going to get murdered behind, with a convenient dumpster for the body, really well laid out. The 50 kilowatt DC fast charger, the EVgo, I'd use it on the way down there, and when I went to use it on the way home, somebody unhappy at having a dedicated EV parking spot had taken a tire iron to the screen of it and completely crippled it, and been arrested 20 minutes before I arrived, and I had to crawl across Salinas to one of those 22 kilowatt things outside a Target, and then stopped at Gilroy. And so, and partly why I did that, and this has always been my thing, is my wife says you shouldn't do that, that's not a good idea. I think that's a great way, that's a great reason to do something. But if you're gonna do something stupid, plan it. That was taught to me at school, and I promised my wife I won't teach it to our kid. I'm probably going to teach it to the kid. And it's a great motto. Don't do something stupid, but have a plan for successful execution and avoid leaving evidence. You can only do that with planning. So, the Tesla Model 3 came out, and I was stood in line the next day with a good number of friends, and I put my $1,000 down. And it was more than a few months, I can't remember the timeline now, it was more than a few months before we found out that it had a regular trunk and was not like the Model S hatchback. And I thought about it for a few days, and then I requested a refund, because without a hatchback, it was just no practical use for our family. Whether it was all the crap we had with the newborn, to whether it was taking a dog to the vet in a crate, and we have dogs, and our dogs always travel in crates for their protection, their family. It wasn't practical. I kept my i3 lease. I extended the lease, I think 4 or 5, maybe 6 months. I think 6 months is the maximum they let you do it, so I think probably like that. And then with sadness, I turned it in. And I would, even though the Model 3 was out, and I don't think the Model Y had been announced at the time. The Neros and the like weren't mainstream, weren't readily available. I came out of an electric vehicle for a couple of days. And then my office, I had a change of situation with work, and my new commute was only going to be 15 miles. So I bought a 2014 Fiat 500e with 60,000 miles on the clock. I paid $6,000 for it, and that was after $6,000 cash without registration. Now, it was a tight fit. Ironically, I got the one with the sunroof, which actually has less room in it. But I'm only driving 20 odd miles, 25 miles-ish round trip each day. I would actually take it on longer trips. I would go up to San Francisco probably 2 or 3 Sunday evenings a month, depending on the time situation, to go to the Punchline Comedy Club on a Sunday night. It's kind of a ritual and a requirement to make your bones. And I would take that. Now, it's 60 miles and change to San Francisco from my house, but we could make it. Not only that, I'm a big guy. I would frequently have a good comedy friend of mine, Farco, who is 230 pounds as well. So we were making it breathe harder. We would not have the air conditioning on. We couldn't run the AC. I'd crack the sunroof and we'd crack the windows, and that would just about keep it cool. I would have to be religious about setting the cruise control to 60 and not getting excited. And we would get in to San Francisco with about 4% in the battery. My Fiat, when I bought it, had 11% battery degradation. I checked it both through a dongle and some software, and also I have a juice box 40, and so I can actually monitor how much accurately how much power goes into it. And so yeah, I got it with 8% degradation, and I babied it. With exception of going to San Francisco, I would only ever charge it to 80%. And when I sold it, it had 13% degradation, which 80. Whilst it shows 100%, it's actually only 87. And in fact, I just sold it to Tesla design engineer. So if you see somebody at the Palo Alto offices and you see a Tesla plugged in, so you see a Fiat 500e with a Tesla adapt charging, that's probably mine. And he bought it for the same reasons. It's cheap, and the maintenance is non-existent. I would check the brakes myself. I used to recondition tractors in a former life. I would do a maintenance, swap out the filters and things like that, the air filters. And so it cost me nothing to run. I had to buy no parts other than a AC filter, charge the AC, cheapest car I ever had. Tires and things like that, normal stuff. Did replace a 12-volt battery, ironically 3 weeks before I sold it, but I babied that. I used to put it on a tender when I was out of town for any period of time. But that thing did a great job. I could get to San Francisco Airport, get up to the city, as long as I had time to plug in for 2.5, 3 hours to charge it up, which normally you would. Great vehicle. Then the Model Y came out. And I like the Model Y, but I can't justify the price. Now, I want to be clear about this. I would have a Tesla in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Love them. Love the car, love the fast charging, love the UI. Everything about the experience is phenomenal. I bought this ID4 knowing that it was a compromise. Let me tell you about my Tesla trip. So June of last year, June of last year of 2020, the weekend, sadly, the gentleman was killed. The African American gentleman was killed. We had the riots across the country. My wife had a dog that was in Michigan. The dog had been sent to be bred. The breeder didn't think that it had taken, that she wasn't pregnant. And so we said, that's fine. When she comes into heat, breeder, we didn't think COVID was going to last that long at this point. And we would pick her up we planned to go to a family event in October out in Pennsylvania, and they would be nearby. We see them most years. Well, that didn't quite work out. My wife gets a phone. My wife asked me to take some time off to look after the kid while she was finishing her dissertation and arguing her thesis for her PhD. That's right. My wife makes poor decisions in terms of choice of boyfriends, fiancés, and husbands, but she's bloody smart. She has 2 degrees, one in kinesiology, one in psychology, so she knows how to take you apart, both physically and mentally. And now she is a doctor of psychology. So one day she might understand why she married me. Anyway, I digress. I'd taken some time off so to help her with that, but then she gets this phone call saying, can you find a way to pick up this dog? Now, I'd actually been planning on buying a second-hand Model S. And so I'd been looking at how I would do that and the route and those elements. We were in full lockdown, something that I personally take very serious. I have a background in intelligence, and as such, I'm usually aware of the realities of any given situation. And I couldn't take a wingman, I couldn't take a co-driver with me on what was going to be a fast, quick, and enjoyable experience. And so, as we pull over to take our exit, You always have to take a bit of extra care when you're driving anywhere near San Francisco. Driving isn't something, and I'm sorry, Californians, but it's something you enjoy, but it's not something you do well. Avocado toast? Absolutely. Driving at high speed on freeways with other traffic? Where was I? So I wanted to take a Tesla this trip. I had a friend who would be able to pick the dog up in Michigan. He was 50 miles away, and he would head back to Wyoming, to Cheyenne. My plan was to basically arrive in Cheyenne as he did, and then bring the dog, this very pregnant dog, home. She wasn't able to fly. There was no direct flights, all those kind of things. So I went on Turo, and ironically, you'll be able to rent this car on Turo after my trip, and rented a Model 3. I picked it up Sunday morning at 7:30 in the morning, and I drove that thing for 17 hours to Rock Springs, Wyoming. Slept there for a few hours while the car was on a destination charger. Got to Cheyenne at 1 o'clock, hit the supercharger, charged it to 100%. Not something I would normally do, but we were this wasn't time, this was when we could get the charge and needed the charge while we waited. I grabbed the dog, who was very happy to see me and very pregnant, and we then turned around and headed back to Salt Lake City that night, and slept and charged for a few hours before leaving and getting home, I don't know, sometime around midnight, and returning the car to the gentleman who rented out his car to me for $79 a day with unlimited miles and unlimited supercharging. I say thank you, but I think we can agree that was a lousy commercial decision. But I had a lot of fun. I was going to rent a car for that trip anyway, because when you're driving that hard, it was June, it was hot, it's fast driving, it puts a lot of wear on the tires, it increases the maintenance bill on any vehicle. So I would have done it in an enterprise thing. Car telling me I'm about to have an accident, but I'm not entirely sure what it thinks I'm going to hit, because there's nothing there. And this was when the 250 kilowatt, the Type 3 supercharger, the word's gone out of my head now. Anyway, the new ones had gone live. I got to experience one of those in Reno at a casino. The car was charged by the time I'd actually found a men's room. I was blown away by how fast that was. And then I came back and stopped at the Tesla factory just to use the supercharger, so I would have time to charge it overnight at home and return it in the morning. It was just amazing. I followed the hat tip here to Kyle Speck of Kyle of Out of Spec Motoring. I followed his ripping strategy. So you take the pack all the way down as low as you dare, pulling into a supercharger at 2 or 3% is a badge of honor, as well as a legitimate travel fast strategy. And then you put in the charge you need. And then if you have extra charge, you shred it off by picking up some speed. And that's the philosophy we're going to use for this trip in the ID4 to New York in a couple of weeks' time. We had a few moments. I thought the dog was going to give birth on the trip back. We left Salt Lake. I forgot how long it takes to get from Salt Lake City to Wendover, just the sheer expanse of it. Charged up at Wendover and Elko. We got a bigger charge than we needed at Elko because I had to use the bathroom, and there was only one stall available because of COVID. It would only let one person into the bathroom. Not that there weren't stalls available, but that was the policy back then. We're going to turn right here at Novato Boulevard. And I actually dropped my speed in order to miss charging at Winnemucca and get to Lovelock, because I thought that she might be going into pup, and we just needed to get back to civilization, or at least Salt Lake City, as quickly as possible. And so we... it was great, and the autopilot was phenomenal. I did not like the full self-driving functionality. It made me seasick because you have to hold onto the steering wheel, and because it uses torque, it kind of felt seesawy to me. And it was kind of strange. I'm looking at the road, but the car's moving. There was a disconnect, and I didn't feel like I'm going to be sick, nauseous, but I didn't feel wonderful about myself. And that was on the straight. That was bombing on 80 at 80 miles an hour, on the way to Winnemucca. I mean, there isn't a quieter, faster road. Well, I'm sure there are, but conceptually. So that was, that was my experience of the Tesla and Kyle's ripping and driving strategy for electric vehicles. And I knew, I thought, well, if they changed the situation and the Model Y came out, I looked at it. I have a good number of friends that have them. I did what we always do when we look at cars. I got 2 dog crates, 2 200s, they're called. That's the size of crates we use. And they would fit side by side in the car. And it was great. It was a fantastic experience. It really was. I looked at the Model Y. Sorry, I lost myself because I'm a former farmer. Used to have cows, and there's some beautiful cows that just came past. And I'm like, the scenery you can see on the other video is just stunning. It's beautiful out here. I've made it up to Marin a couple of times on errands, picking up roof racks and kids' bike trailers. So. Hello from Point Reyes Station. A truly beautiful place. I have ticked off something on my bucket list, and I do mean my actual bucket list, which was to visit not just Point Reyes, but also the Cowgirl Creamery. And I will hit the Marin French Creamery on my way back. I'm going to do what Bourne does because in his videos, because apparently this is important. I'm not charging. I did plug in. I got 6 miles of charge, which I didn't need. But I was shooting a video as a tutorial video for people who rent the vehicle, so I was just doing it for that reason. I didn't want to take a charger that other people would need, and I didn't want to screw up my numbers too much. And this is when I find out they didn't give me a spoon or napkins. Well, can we show you this? So we have tomato soup with sourdough croutons. But most importantly, we don't need the croutons because we have a grilled cheese sandwich made with Mount ham. And a quantity of butter that would stun a mule. Anyway, I'm going to enjoy this. Oh my God, so good. We have a coffee to help us get over. A cappuccino waiting. An espresso, actually, not cappuccino. An espresso. Oh my God, that's so good. This is close to emotion as I feel. Oh my God, so good. So I'm going to plan the next leg right now, and then I'll come back. So, quick update on statistics. We're at 38% of charge, 38% state of charge right now, and predicted range of 114 miles. We are. I'm heading back from here now to Pleasanton, to Volkswagen Dublin, to drop off these incorrect parts I have right now. I'll talk more about this in a minute in the video, in the long form video as I'm driving. The sat-nav sucks. The integration between Electrify America, the sat-nav system sucks. And that's why I rely on a better route planner. So, if I swing this into view, a better route planner says that I can get to Castro Valley with 14% state of charge. From Castro Valley, you go up and over the hill, and it's a high-speed run. I would not be able to get, ironically, to Pleasanton. There is a fast charger, 150 kilowatt fast charger, near the dealership. But that's fine. We're going to get in at 14%. We're probably going to go a little bit faster. There'll be some wind. We're going over the bridges. So we'll probably pull in less than that. And we're just going to charge up. And I'm going to shoot a video for the rentals, show how easy that is. And yeah, we'll talk along the way. But if nothing else, after that cheese sandwich and an espresso, it's going to be an enjoyable drive. Oh, and we will have less because we're going to stop at the Marin French cheese place because, well, you have to. See you soon. So, really glad I came to Point Reyes. It's been a just fantastic, beautiful, great drive to get here. Beautiful cows. So I'm looking at cows as I'm trying to turn right, which is a dangerous thing to do, but they are beautiful, absolutely beautiful specimens. Lovely lines. And now we're heading to more cheese. So let me touch on a couple of issues and bring them together. I'm really grateful to whomever it was, and I'm sorry I don't remember. It may have been the Portland lady who mentioned. Oh no, I do remember when I was planning a trip a while ago. There was EV Trip Planner, and she's in Portland. She has a YouTube channel. I can't remember her name now. And she talked about the different apps and different platforms. Anyway, I found a better route planner, and I it's great that they have the free service that they do. But I also I paid for the subscription even though the Tesla had it built in. When I was doing that trip to Wyoming, I did all my planning on a better route planner and PlugShare, not the route, but making sure I knew, finding hotels, accommodation with chargers either on site or nearby, and so I'm, and it is ridiculous. Don't get me wrong, that we should be using multiple apps to plan. Day to day, it doesn't matter. Going to work, traveling 200 miles in a day, 100 miles there, 100 miles back, you're going to plug in at home, you don't need to care. And that's the most important thing. And I don't want to talk about this and put people off from joining this electrical vehicle revolution, because 99.99% of the time you don't have to care. The way that this is performing right now, we're at 37% with 111 miles left in the tank. We're maintaining the speed limits. We're going a little bit over them. This thing does handle well. I've kept it in comfort mode, but this thing is fun. Like all EVs. Right now, we're going to put our foot down to go around these cyclists, keeping within the bend, so we don't put ourselves at risk. And road tripping is a specific use case, and Tesla have nailed it with their in-house navigation and the superchargers. Absolutely nailed it. And that is what... and I understand VW don't own Electrify America. I appreciate it's an investment that they have to make because of Dieselgate, yada, 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 yada. And they also have to do integration with other third parties, and that's the thing, it's third parties. There is a firewall between them. They have to do the same thing in Europe with Ionity, and elsewhere around the world. And this requires effort and manpower, resource, and testing. But it sucks. I think we've all watched the reviews of the Mustang Mach-E and seen that it comes up with some interesting routes that involve using 7 kilowatt chargers. And I mean, that's just not something you're going to do unless an emergency happens. But this is even worse. This doesn't even know that the Electrify America systems exist, from what I can tell. I've done some investigation. I've nominated one as my home charger. I have 40 amp service at home, so that's not an issue for me. But because I get the free charging and because I'm cheap, did I mention being a parent? I don't have spare money. I will charge on my way home. I will hit that Bank of America charging point for 15 minutes and absorb 50 kilowatts of energy. I'll take this thing up to 60 and then I'll top it off at home. Time does have a price, but I'll take the heavy charge very quickly and run. That's not in there. The one I plan to go to is not in there. I have to add it by address. That sucks. And it ruins the experience. It makes it a harder transition from a regular vehicle to an electric vehicle. This vehicle will get people out of their RAV4s. It will get them out of their VW Tiguans. It will get people out of their Ford Flex, whatever. It will do that. But it's not going to do it if the experience, when tested, is as seamless as a Tesla. I have a better route planner running on the car through Android Auto. I have the dongle and the EV Notify app running. But I'm weird. I'm not normal. I'm not the use case. I am not typical. I am not lowest, medium, or second highest common denominator. I am an outlier, as are others. This isn't how it can be. This will not be successful. So I hope they fix this in the over-the-air updates that they do. They have to, and they have to do it soon. They're building a plant in Tennessee to build these things. That's a commitment, and to get return on that investment requires these software updates. But yeah, let's talk about a better route planner for a minute. So you have choices, and everyone's going to have their favorites, and I'm not going to, between them. And I worked in intelligence in Waltham and other for many years. I love planning. I love putting together the plan. A plan and good execution is reward in of itself. It is not an accident that I'm driving this vehicle today and live where I do and have the wonderful wife that I do. Work went into making this happen, and I enjoy it. I enjoy the planning and the execution, and I make a million plans, but I'll only execute on one. That's what research is. And so, you know, if I know where I'm going, great. Let's start building a plan to get there, and that's where a better route planner really shines through, and they understand the vehicle's characteristics. I want to learn more about contributing my data to them, my performance, my utilization. I want to know how I can do that, and I will put work into that in coming days and weeks, because that will make the tools more accurate. That's an investment that I need to make. And then PlugShare, which will tell you where you're, you can find public J1 772 chargers, is fantastic, and the cost of those chargers. You're probably going to want to have the ChargePoint app as well. There are minor things, but they do things slightly different. One sometimes slightly better than the other. PlugShare is great for looking for everything, but I would say 90% of the time, and again, this is biased because I live where I live in California. Again, nice cows and California poppies, the orange one. They call them desert poppies. It's the state flower. You're not meant to pick it, I know that. The ChargePoint app is works really well, and I say I love the integration in Android Auto. They did it in CarPlay first. I was messing around with it in the minivan, in the hybrid, but this works. I like this. And then you bring all those things together with a better route planner, and you put in your SOC and things like that. And very quickly, you have a plan to travel from San Jose to New York, and you know where you're going to stop, so you know where you can charge overnight, get some rest. Because I'm not trying to break a record like Kyle did. I'm trying to get there quickly and safely. And I need some rest and some sleep. And maybe my buddy is going to join me, in which case we will do some through the night driving. But that's because the other person will be sleeping, and we'll learn more about that on tomorrow's trip that I have planned. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Electrify America needs to do, and Volkswagen needs to do a lot more work on integration in the native navigation UI. I think Google's done some fantastic work. I could see availability at the charger that I wanted to use. I wish that was reflected in Waze. I use Waze because of the police detection. And again, lovely cows. And these are what we call all sorts. There's some Jerseys. There's some there's a bit of Swiss in there. As well as your more typical milkers, but just lovely land, lovely land. But yeah, those are my thoughts, and I'd love to hear yours, and that is what the comment section's for. And I'm going to keep coming back and talking about this, not just because I like the sound of my own voice, but because talking and thinking are a shared process. And with that, and some goats, we will take some pictures and insert them of the thing, and some chickens. Oh, I'm going to be back here. My daughter would love it. Here. Looked at the Model Y, loved it. Just couldn't justify it. Couldn't just, at that price, the value proposition is not there for me. we don't do a huge number of road trips. We have an RV. When we road trip, we road trip. We have a minivan as well. We have a Pacifica plug-in hybrid that my father-in-law has. He lives with us. That we use for moving, a good number of dogs when required. And my wife has a Volvo XC60, which ultimately this may well end up replacing. But the price and the performance and the benefits of the Tesla just weren't there. I'm not going to do a cross-country road trip every week. It's going to take 4 hours of extra charging to get to New York in this versus in the ID4 versus a Model Y. I can't justify that kind of price. And I appreciate the price is not that similar. This is $45,000 list and change. The Model Y is whatever it is today. But as we currently stand, we don't get the incentives for the Tesla, and this does. And that's a real thing. Like I said, that's why I call this Real EV Dad as a channel. So I saw a couple of reviews of this, early production reviews. I've forgotten his name now. Justin Collins, the Free the Data Teslanomics guy, I think it was him that had a early review model, pre-production review model, and I was like, I like it. It's got the space we need as a family, and the compromise of range and charging speed is one that we could probably live with. So it's out in the back of my mind. And if you don't think that rebates drive behavior, they do. I was going to buy a model. I was going to buy just the Pro one, the $40,000 one. I wasn't that bothered about all the toys and gadgets with the First Edition. I buy a car because of how it handles, not because of the, how luxurious it is. I joke, and it's not really a joke, that all my cars have to be considered semi-agricultural. Because I will put a bale in the back of this. I will, put animals in it. And as I'm looking at this, these are some beautiful. I'm gonna go with Angus by that top line. Beautiful suckler herd, absolutely gorgeous. Where's my? One of the credits, the $2,000 EV credit from California that sits on top of the $1,500 clean air one, will run out of money in the next 24 hours. I bought it the day I did so I could get my reservation in to get the money. Because it's all part of the total value. So I put an order in for the regular Pro S model, $40,000. Then I saw on the forums, and I monitored Auto Trader, that a good number of First Editions were being ordered and then not being taken delivery of. Well, I'm not going to call out names, but a lot of dealers looked at this as an opportunity to put a markup on them, like and put a $5,000 markup, above sticker markup on them, which doesn't help the cause of cleaner vehicles and propelling them. It shows a complete lack of. I'm a capitalist. I'm in business, but there's a line, and you're competing against Tesla. Either you're making your business ready to support electric vehicles, or you're not. And these ones weren't. But then I did some old-fashioned phone calls, and I called a number of dealers that were on the Clean Air certified thing, so that I would get the $1,500 rebate as part of my deposit. And they had in this case, Volkswagen of Dublin, California, said, yeah, they had 3 first editions coming in where the customers had cancelled them. Even though they'd put their $500 down, they could still walk away, and for whatever their reasons they'd chosen to, they would be coming in the next couple of days, and I was welcome to have one of them. So I arranged my own finance, and I'll save that for another video because that's quite interesting, and I'd like to talk about that and then see if that has value to other people. Like I said, if you're going to do something stupid like buy a car without your wife's permission, have a plan. We're coming up to the sign for the Marin French cheese and daily tastings. I didn't know about that, but that's something we're going to be doing on the way back from where we're going. I took a test drive in another dealership who also said that they had them coming in and they were going to put a mark upon them and they couldn't commit and And unfortunately, I try to live my life with people that can make yes or no decisions. It's just simpler. Oh, so this is the cheese factory. Well, we'll be coming back to this, and there's some beautiful classic cars outside. Oh, well, we'll be. That's fantastic. We are 10 miles away from our destination. We have 105 miles in the tank, in the battery, so we're not worried about that. And that's my point. I'm not worried about range today because, again, I have a plan. And so I picked it up on Tuesday or Wednesday this week. I installed a dash cam, and I'll go through, do a separate video on how to wire that up because there's some experience. I learned a few things myself, and again, I want to pass these lessons on. I learned from the internet, from YouTube, from Wikipedia, and all those things. I want to pay some of that back and make it easier for other people to do the same things I did. And then, like I said, this trip is about getting to understand the true range of this vehicle in different circumstances, doing the highway, doing these country roads, when we're not going slowly. I'm enjoying this drive even though I'm talking. Yeah, so look, more to talk about. For now, just keep enjoying the video and the drive, and I'll check back in when we get to Point Reyes with how much energy we used on that part of the drive, and yeah. So that was the Marin Cheese Company, and delightful little baby blue Fiat 500e in the car park with a it must be a new one because it's got orange, relatively new, or it's out of state because it has orange HOV stickers on it, which I think are the current colours. I'm not sure. I knew I recognized the Marin Cheese Company. I just couldn't place it. I just realized I'd been eating their breakfast brie for a while. Their little pâté déjeuner brie, which they sell at Trader Joe's. So the more you know. So we have 93 miles showing on the gasometer. The vehicle has 33% state of charge. and the data says we've done 124 miles, average speed of 36, but I was sat with the AC on. I think that ruined the timeline. And we've done 18.1 kilowatts hours per 100 kilometers. So I do need to work out how to change these numbers and convert them into something I can use in a better route planner. But like I said, today is just about getting an idea in my mind, seeing how accurate the GOM is, the guessometer, and yeah, enjoy the drive.
Estimated time in traffic, 18 minutes.
So, that's everything you need to know. Beautifully timed there, Waze. We came across the bridge. We're now on the Oakland side of the Bay Area, and Waze tells me this is the best, quickest way, but I could see the traffic. So part of that compromised sat-nav system. Our GOM says we have 62 miles worth of electrons, and I'm inclined to believe it. To give that vehicle charging 20% is what we have in the tank. And given where we are, I don't think that's going to be an issue. And the fact that we're going to be sat in traffic, it's a warm day at 68 outside. 60 now. We've just gone across the water. Mark Twain said there's nothing as cold as a San Francisco summer. Yeah. I'm British. We can talk about the weather for a lifetime and then keep going into the next lifetime. Trust me about this one. So anyway, I have switched my destination to the one in Pleasanton so that I can just so that I can get the battery down a little bit more. Just to demonstrate to the people that will, rent from me and may see this online. And you have to have a certain amount of faith in the system, in the technology, that, getting down, range anxiety is one thing, but, to get the best out of this technology, out of this platform, you have to be willing to get down to single digit percentage to make that road trip achievable. So I'm recording the charging curve on EV Notify and doing my own calculations. It's all about how quick, from what point can I add 100 miles? Can I add 150 miles? So that I don't have to refer to a better route planner, that I can guesstimate more accurately. An oxymoron, if you will. So anyway, we're now going to go to Pleasanton. We should get in there with very low numbers, which is what we want, and then hopefully have a good charge, and then we'll go drop off these parts. So yeah. So our warning came on at 20%, 63 miles to go. So 63 miles in the tank at that 20%, which I do think speaks well to the size of the battery and the energy management system. We've been doing, spirited, engaged driving all day. Air conditioning's been on for a good chunk of it. And now as we head back into full speed, we are at 26 miles to go, 61 miles on the GOM. Nothing to worry about, hopefully. bit of uphill, and as we go over the hill into Castro Valley, or go to Castro Valley and end up over the hill towards Pleasanton, there's always a bit of wind, either coming off or going into the bay. I know I've dealt with that with the Fiat, where I've had to go over the hill at 40 miles an hour, but no major issues, so all fun. All right, so we have dropped off the wrong car mats, and apparently the correct ones will be in at some point, someday, whenever. And now and this is interesting. I want to say this is a good thing. So my biggest complaint, my inner hacker wants to see if I can screw with this. By the way, when I say hacker, I mean like that's what I used to do for a living, was break into people's systems and software, and kind of my thing. So I've come down to 25 miles. Crucially, I'm down at 9%. So at 20%, the light came on. I got the yellow battery, like a 12-volt battery sign. And I'm following an ID4 that's going out on a test drive. So I think I just spoke to these people. Yeah, they're looking at it. And you can see them feeling around in it. Oh, sorry. And where was I? Where was I going with this? Oh, I'm just going to pretend that didn't happen and start a few edits. All right, so we've dropped off the mats, and at 20%, we got the yellow, like a 12-volt battery sign came on. Came back to the car. I left the AC running while I was in there because I don't want my cheese to melt or spoil. These are the priorities. And it would appear that that dropped us a bit more, obviously. And we're down to 9%. Crucially, I know we're down to 9%, and I don't have to go into the charging screen in the UI, because it's telling me in the binnacle. So I have 9% and in red, and then 25 miles. We're not worried about that because we have 1.5 miles to go to get to the charger, and it looks like it's going to be stop and go traffic the whole way. So yeah. It was a quick pit stop and on to Bank of America, I think it is. So we'll see. So, an interesting.
Video start. Video stop.
So, an interesting charge, and I didn't shoot the video I intended to, but for a very good reason. I pulled in, and as I did, there was a Rivian prototype charging up next to me, and so I spent the last however many minutes talking to the tester and driver, and he told me nothing confidential, but we just talked about software and software processes, debugging, and there's a lot of commonality between what he does and what I do for a living, and things like that. So just kind of interesting. And I did get some pictures, and I'll insert those into the stream. But and these are the things, this is why we do this, and this is why it's important to put things in PlugShare and makes people aware. This site is limited. It has it has 4 pedestals. So hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it has 5 CCS chargers. And I will take a funny picture in a second because I see that somebody put a 50 kilowatt sticker on the J1772 that's here as well. But anyway, this site is limited. There is, it says energy storage, but there's nothing in it. It's an empty unit. Clearly, they've put it in place. They've put some of the infrastructure, but there's no batteries in there. And they don't have enough charge because we've been at my peak. I don't think I can show this on the screen. This is the EV Notify app. It won't focus. Anyway, we never got to full. We came in at 9%. And less than that, about 8%. And we never pulled more than 90. We're now at 58.3, and we are still very respectably pulling 85. But this isn't the charger. It's not the handle or the charger or anything like that. This is the site. It says 150. The Rivian, and he changed chargers, had exactly the same issue. He capped out at 90. And like he said, he came in at a near-dead battery, and that thing has one hell of a battery. And he's been here multiple times, and for obvious reasons, the Rivian isn't checking in on PlugShare. But these are the limitations, and so this is why we're learning. So I don't want to use, because I was talking to him, I didn't shoot the video of the charging session I wanted to, because I turned into a schoolboy who was incredibly... It's beautiful. Actually, too beautiful. I always say any vehicle of mine is semi-agricultural, and that is too pretty to damage. It's going to be for the bros to go hiking. Anyway, we are at 60% state of charge. It's just gone 4 p.m. I want to go home and take care of my dog. So, we're going to disconnect now. Head home. I will surmise at the end. And I'll tell you about the trip we plan to take tomorrow. Well, we're home, and I need to digest this, but 18.1 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and I'll need to translate that into something that's usable. 227 miles round trip, average speed of 39. Slightly screwed up because I spent so much time sat down eating my dinner, eating my lunch with the AC on. But, gotta say, for my first, decent-sized trip, pretty damn impressed. Disappointed that, we find out about dodgy, no, dodgy is the wrong word, just, I'm going to call them PG&E Limited, Electrify America, and that's why it's so important for all of us to contribute to PlugShare, and to inform Electrify America about these situations. I plugged in at what I call my local one just to top up, and no problems at all. Ramped straight up. Wasn't there long at all. And yeah, and so I will edit this. I look forward to leave your comments, leave your feedback. It's important. Audience is small, tinier than it could ever be. And the next one will be a very interesting trip through the mountains that not many people drive on. I'll be doing that tomorrow, and then we'll have to edit and publish. Have a great day.